Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day and a wonderful weekend. Let's take a look here at SUI, see what's going on. Just kind of a recap of where we're at for the week and kind of going into the weekend, what we need to do to be able to have a good, strong continuation or to effectively continue lower, because SUI is looking weak-ish. Last couple of hours, maybe not, but still for the most part respecting its descending trend, kind of rejecting out at specific key levels. So we'll talk about that as well. And while we're waiting to load the liquidation levels, just ask you to quickly hit the like button. Comment below if you get a chance to. Love to hear from you. I've got some really awesome feedback recently, and we've gotten a little bit more views than usual because people are actually starting to hit the like button and kind of get more notice here. So I really appreciate you doing that. Thanks again. Future reference, we actually have some community members that have been with me for over 3 years, almost 4 years now, and they've been liking every single video. So thank you all very much. You're my champions. Let's take a quick look here at SUI and see if this champion is going to recover or if we're going to see a pullback. Well, obviously, we saw this $2 mark here hit that threshold, almost exactly $2. And ever since then, the price has been generally pulling back as we're creating a descending trend line. And in that overall trend, we got to respect the fact that liquidation occurs, right? And when we look at liquidation levels, we want to recognize too, there's a massive amount to the downside, more so to the downside than the upside. So my speculation is that this 140 range should be tested eventually. But for right now, between now and then, I think it's best to set your targets a little closer just because I think 140 is a little aggressive. But once again, those are just my thoughts, right? So either way, when we look at liquidation, there's a ton of liquidation down as low as about 130. So there's a pretty significant fair value gap as well in the macro, which we can look at here in a minute. But the general consensus here is that it would be surprising if $2 was retested. However, it's still a possibility. We cannot rule that out. This coin is super strong. There's no other way around it. I think its macro trend line is we're still above it. So the truth is we're in pretty good shape here with this coin. It's not like something you should just get crazy with a short. But there's a lot of like cracks in the glass, so to speak, showing us that this turnaround is probable. And just want to be mindful of that, okay? So again, it's all about statistical probabilities. And this point right now, I think there's a little bit larger odds of the price going down than up, at least from a macro perspective, right? Between now and then, it'll definitely jump up and down. Anyways, we can see here about 1 billion, another billion, basically somewhere in the range of about 5 to 10 billion if you kind of round up, right there between $2 and $2.15. So what can and does normally happen is you see retests of these levels here where the price action will just basically wake up and then come back down after sweeping that extra liquidation and pulling back for a pretty strong double top. So we're going to see, we're a long ways away from that, I personally feel, but at this point, we want to focus on the current scenario here. So the daily time frame, just again, to recap and reiterate, this ascending trend line that is basically drawn out, that's running concurrent with the 20-day SMA, is this green line here, lets us know we're still on the right side of the tracks. So not to say you can't short into that, because we technically have a short open. It's just that you want to be careful taking a short into that based on the simple fact that there's still some support below us, right? But again, smaller time frames, identifying the shifts in momentum, there's a lot of reasons why I still feel like we're still going down. But again, I don't think it's going to be like a massive drop. Once again, so we take a look here. This is one thing to kind of reiterate. We got this resistance at about 178. On smaller time frames, you can identify this a little bit better, but we can see multiple attempts to break that. It broke, of course. Now we're back in this range. So we could very well be range bound between 178 and as low as 162. I believe our take profit target is like 163 or 164. So again, that's playing it safer, if you will. Now, if you're going to be a little more aggressive, I would say 140 to 150 is a possibility, but once again, we got to break through this support level 162 first to have a chance of that. And again, we also want to break below this ascending trend line first as well. So again, those things haven't happened yet. So in turn, we want to presume the price will continue higher from a macro perspective. Okay, so I think that we are probably likely to see the price continue higher. We could even see one more leg up, and this is just kind of a pivot. We could very well see that. There's a lot of different scenarios here, okay? But the truth is, it's too early. However, what isn't too early here is this MACD divergence, because this coin has been converging for like 3 or 4 weeks now. It's just literally a monster that can't be stopped. But everything that goes up must come down, folks. You got to realize that. I know there's tons of awesome fundamentals in this coin, and that does matter to an extent, but really doesn't in crypto, because market makers are going to take their profit. You think people like you and I are actually driving the price up? I mean, yes, a little bit, but not really too much. Somebody has a big bag of this, and at one point, they are going to see fit to be able to take profit and secure all that. A lot of it happens within fair value gaps, which we can see as low as about 120 even, okay? So just throwing it out there. Stochastic's pulling back. We're back under 70 on the RSI. Things are starting to normalize. This is all standard stuff here. Money flow index is pulling back. From a macro perspective, it's actually good to see that. It's that cooling off period. Basically just reaffirms the fact that we get closer to 50 in the RSI. We should experience price action to bounce and recover from there. Again, that's just generally how it's supposed to work. Between now and then, a lot of stuff can happen. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can kind of understand here, looking at some moving averages here, that we're still below the 20 and the 50-day SMA. That's generally unfavorable. The 20 actually so far is held as a resistance. We got to presume it's going to continue. We take a look here as well at the price action down below as far as momentous indicators. We are up over 0 line on the trend strength index, basically letting us know we have decent strength in this little uptrend here. Basically this last 14 days or so, we've seen a pretty solid amount of continuation. MACD is trying to converge but hasn't, and stochastic is swinging up for the second time. That carries a little bit more weight, and RSI is getting closer to 50. So there's a lot of reasons here as to why SUI might be able to break free. But the key takeaway here is as long as we remain up below 178, I think we're probably still going to be able to stay and maintain in this range or continue lower. Okay. Now keep in mind, we are establishing higher lows for now. So if this 169 level continues to hold, we may see the price continue higher. There's a decent amount of control here. The local point of control is at 170. So again, basically the easy way to understand it is a closure below 170. We should presume the price will continue lower, pending Bitcoin isn't going straight up. And then a closure above 170, generally construed as a bullish sign when we see the price continue higher. Keep in mind, this is a weekend. I would recommend waiting for the weekend candle to close first, more so than even the daily at this point. But a weekly candlestick closure above 170 should imply we see further upside. At least, again, that's how it's supposed to, how coins are supposed to move. That's the general consensus. But once more, we look at the hourly time frame here. We quickly take a look at the Ichimoku cloud. We are firmly below the cloud. This is a confirming factor that I like to use a lot. The lagging span is within the price action now, but was free and clear a couple of hours ago. And then the conversion line, the baseline, basically it's below the baseline. So those are all bearish signs. We got 3 out of 3 reasons on the hourly, plus this recent rising wedge breakdown, leading me to believe we're more likely to continue lower. We also have this here too, and it's a little easier to see on the 15, but we got this little area here. Generally speaking, when you work yourself into a descending channel like this, the price goes down because we've retested this support 3 times so far, and we still have yet to break this descending trend. So if the price pulls back here to retest 170, it'll probably break to the downside within a couple more attempts, right? So generally speaking, this is considered a bearish sign here when the price action works itself into a descending trend line, lower highs, lower lows. But more importantly, sorry, not lower lows, lower highs and parallel lows, and then it inevitably breaks to the downside because you're retesting that support multiple times, it eventually breaks, and the bulls basically give up, okay, because they keep having tons of selling pressure. But again, this little bit of volume pump on a weekend, it's unusual, but it's normal for SUI. This is causing the price to increase here where the majority of the market's going down. So keep in mind, if Bitcoin continues to retrace, we will see that pull back. But if volume continues, then we're going to see SUI continue higher. It's a funny thing, the way that it works out, but the overall sentiment here is that we still have slightly more bearish signs than bullish signs, and then with these trends essentially being our friend, we got to respect them until they're broken. Okay, that's kind of where we're at. I hope that makes sense. I described that correctly. Make sure you join us over with Bitunix too, folks. If you've already used them and used my link to register, you're eligible. But they have a massive deposit bonus going on this month. It's a promo, so click the link, check it out. It's really cool. And then other than that, just make sure if you have any questions, reach out. I have a lot of new community members coming over to our cryptocash.tech, basically our community here, and it's really awesome. It's a really, really good situation. So thanks again for the wonderful feedback from everyone. Appreciate you all very much. Look forward to seeing the next one. Take care.